Good evening. I'd like to call the regular board meeting for the Bonita Springs Fire Control and Rescue District, Monday, March 12, 2018, to order. Chaplain Chitwood will lead a moment of silence and an invocation. Please rise.
I'd like to have a moment of silence for 5 firemen in the U.S. that have lost their lives this past month, followed by prayer. Dear God, we give honor to those that have made a sacrifice of themselves so that they can serve others and help others. During this time of loss, Lord, we pray that you'll be with their families and strengthen them and encourage them and help them through this hard time. And Lord, as always, we ask for protection for the firefighters in Bonita, that you will surround them, protect them from harm. We give thanks for their dedication and their willingness to serve. And grant us wisdom and guidance and the counsel as they make decisions that impact the lives of others in this community. It's in Christ's name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Public comment on agenda items. I have no cards up here, but if anybody would like to speak to an item on the agenda, now's the time. Seeing none, need a motion for the approval of the February 12, 2018 regular meeting minutes.
I move we approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I need one motion for the approval of the February 2018 and current expenditures and ACH payments, the acknowledgement of financial report, and the acknowledgement of wire transfers and transfers between accounts.
So move. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next item, we got some years of service presentations. Chief?
Yes, sir. Good evening, although it feels like afternoon with the time change. However, we do have a couple presentations that are years of service. The first presentation will go for 15 years of service, another milestone here at the Bonita Springs Fire Control and Rescue District. I could remember when these gentlemen got hired. It was just, seems like the other day when I was running them in a couple training drills up and down the stairs. First, I'd like to introduce Juvert Calero. I don't know if Juvert's here. There he is. Juvert, if you want to come up front, please. Juvert has had an outstanding 15-year career here, has done a tremendous amount of work with us. He came to us from Collier County and also worked for EMS. Juvert also had the unfortunate and fortunate opportunity to actually have a medical issue here, cardiac arrest. He went in at the station, and Eric Madden, our Deputy Chief Madden here, happened to be in the gym and found Juvert and saved his life. So Juvert has had quite the remarkable career with some events that he is proud to say he survived. One of them, for sure. Don't mean to embarrass you, Juvert, but I did anyway. Next, we have Frederick O'Donnell. Frederick O'Donnell, better known as Wheels, was the fastest guy in his high school, so he always lets everybody know. Fred's been here for 15 years and got hired. Fred's also a paramedic. He's an outstanding firefighter as well. Next, we have Fred Plazinski. Is Fred here? There's Lieutenant Fred Plazinski, another 15-year employee. Fred is extremely dedicated, runs our chainsaw program, also is one of the lead instructors for our fire academy that we run out of this station here. Fred's well known by his recruits, and it's not uncommon to see him out here every night training firefighters. Fred's also moonlights as a police officer as well. Next, we have Lieutenant Ernest Williams. Ernie, I can't really say his nickname. It had to do with a fire that he ran in a Porto John, which was his first fire many years ago. But Ernie worked extremely hard to become a lieutenant and over his last 15 years. Additionally, Ernie served in the United States Marine Corps and had a distinguished time in his service in the Marine Corps as well. So I wanted to congratulate these 4 gentlemen on their 15 years. Oh, did I forget Bruce? Bruce is not here. Thank
He is.
goodness. Is he?
He's back
All
there.
right, Bruce, come on up. I saw Bruce so many days he was on light duty, and maybe I just was blanking him out of our mind. He doesn't make a good administrator, for one, but Bruce is one of our, another outstanding employee, and is also one of our EVTs. Bruce has been here, obviously, for 15 years. He is a lieutenant and also a paramedic, and worked very, very hard to get his qualifications as a paramedic and to become a lieutenant. Bruce is a hard-working employee, and it's not uncommon to see him over at the shop fixing the fire trucks after hours when he could be home. So I wanted to thank all you very much again for your service, and I will give you your pen. Thank you.
Very much like the League of Nations, I'm glad to see Ireland was included. My little Irish friend. A little prejudice.
I think Fred's Italian, judging by his last name.
Don't not be Italian.
Next, we have the promotional pinning ceremonies. First, we have the promotion of Ernie Williams and Shane Frost. I don't know if Shane's here. I didn't see him. Yes, there he is. I gave you Ernie Williams a little bit of history. Shane Frost has been here for, Shane, what have you been here, 18 years? 13? Okay, time flies. Shane also works as an RN at the hospital. He's also worked for, I believe, was it Tampa? Tampa Fire. Shane is obviously one of our newest lieutenants, and I'm proud to say that these gentlemen obviously spent a tremendous amount of time and effort to learn all the materials and to pass all the tests that they needed to do. It's a very difficult road, and the final stop is usually me, and that's not an easy one either, but I want to say, gentlemen, I'm sure you're going to do a fine job, and congratulations. And I do believe, before I continue, you have someone here to pin you, correct, Shane? Who is it? And his name? Matthew, how are you? Wow, looks like you get a big honor.
Just drive the pen right in, straight.
Straight in.
Lieutenant Williams, you have someone here to pin you as well? Yes, sir. Mr. Williams, will you come up, please? I may, sir. I have one more.
Absolutely.
I would also like to introduce to the fire district Miss Christine Bale, if I said that properly. Christine had applied for Jessica's vacant position as administrative coordinator. Out of 84 applicants, Christine was the top. Christine comes to us from Ohio, where she has a master's degree in education. She spent 6 years as a teacher in Orlando and also in Lee County. She taught middle school, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, many different subjects. So it's not going to be too different than working with me. So we wanted to welcome Christine to our family here at the Bonita Springs Fire District, and I'm sure you're going to do a great job. So welcome. That is all I have, sir. Oh, excuse me.
I was going to say,
Yes, that's why I need help. Okay, next we have Battalion Chief. Next on the list would be Jeff Milliken. I saw Jeff earlier today, this afternoon. Jeff has been with us for 18 years. Jeff served most of his duty out at Station 3, which we were in the process of rebuilding. Jeff is also a paramedic, and he was a lieutenant for, how long were you a lieutenant, Jeff?
About 10 years.
About 10 years. So he's got a lot of calls under his belt, and he's got a lot of leadership. And one thing Jeff said to me when he did get promoted to the position of battalion chief is he didn't know how much more difficult it was going to be to manage than he thought. But he is an outstanding employee, again, and I got a lot of high hopes for Jeff, and I'm sure he's going to do great. And with our 2 new battalion chiefs, Jeff is one of the new officers in the administrative, or we should say chief officer staff, that is going to be leading the way into the future. Congratulations, Jeff. And who did you have pinning your hair tonight, Jeff? And his dad is here, sir, if you'd come up. Okay. We do have, next we have firefighter Bryant Bruzos. He's a new firefighter, so I don't have much to say yet. But we wanted to congratulate you on your new employment here with the Bonita Springs Fire Control and Rescue District. Once again, this is an example of the future of our fire department, and hopefully you have a nice long career here. And you have somebody to pin you?
Yes, my wife Emily.
Yes.
now you're finished.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you and congratulations to everybody. Next item on the agenda is Commissioner's Business. We'll start with
We
Commissioner Murphy.
have a moment's delay for anyone who wishes to leave.
You're exactly right. This is a time we're going to take a couple of minute recess for anybody that doesn't want to stay for the rest of the meeting. Thank you. You're welcome. We good to come back to order?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Commissioner's Business. We'll start with Commissioner Murphy.
I have no business at this point.
Commissioner Casilla?
Yes, after the grand opening of Station 26, I took a look around Station 26. Being a licensed contractor, I decided to do a checklist walkthrough. I came up with a couple, 3 or 4 pages, I think, of notes that I found of things that needed to be done. So I gave the copy to the chief, and I just wanted to follow through on that, because as a contractor, we get the same thing all the time. We go through and I just thought it was important, because I found some major things that I thought should be taken care of. And the chief has the results of my study, and he's going to handle it from here, from what I understand.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Commissioner Fitzgerald?
No, I have nothing tonight.
Commissioner Material?
Yes, sir. I'd like to take a minute to, I have a little presentation I put together.
Certainly.
This is regarding the gym membership for the Bonita Springs Fire Control and Rescue District members. Basically, we're all familiar with the benefits of working out are. The biggest things are it learn to set and achieve goals, reduce risk of heart disease, sleep better, gives you an energy boost, increase strength and flexibility, improves your memory, increase self-confidence, perform better at work, become less susceptible to disease, live longer. Those are some of the benefits that you get from working out. My criteria for selecting a gym was threefold. They had to have multiple locations because it's my understanding most of our fire district employees live outside of the city limits. They have to be open 7 days a week so they have access to them on their days off because of the shift work that we work. And it has to have a low-cost initiation fee because every single gym has initiation fees. There was only 2 gyms that met these requirements. Let's see here. The first, I don't know how to go back. Let me see here. Let me do this. I apologize. This is what happens when you don't test it first. Okay, the first gym was LA Fitness. They have 3 locations, one in Naples, Fort Myers, and Bonita Springs. It was a $99 initiation fee plus $24.99 per month per person, which totaled $59,832 for the entire district. Then there was Crunch. Locations in Fort Myers, Bonita, and Naples. $29 initiation plus $10.69 a month per person, which totaled $18,089.50.
Can I ask a question where you came up with the totals? We don't have that many employees.
I was 115. I was given the number
Oh,
115.
okay. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And what I was able to do, Crunch really worked with me. They did away with, they lessened the initiation fee, they discounted that, and they did away with another fee that most of them also have. Our insurance broker has agreed per contract to give the district $5,000 towards gym membership. They want to encourage this for the reasons that I stated earlier. A healthier fireman is a happy fireman, and they do a better job. That means the entire district can have access to affordable fitness and health care for just $13,089.50. Who benefits from the district employees having affordable gym membership? The city of Bonita Springs, the people of Bonita Springs. I live here too, and I'd like them as healthy and as fit as possible. And finally, the employees themselves. So I think it's a win for everybody, and I think for this kind of money, I'd like to give it a shot for a year, see how it goes, especially since we have the $5,000 from the insurance broker. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I guess if we wanted to put that on next month's agenda for a discussion, we could, if everybody's in agreement with that, we can just forward that on to next month, and we'll list it as an agenda item, so it can be discussed and voted on.
Yes, sir. And I had spoken with Commissioner McTurro, if you don't mind, and we'll come up with the possible financial options for the board to consider this initiative.
Okay.
A question, please. I would suggest maybe we survey the members to see if they have an interest in this type of activity. We have gyms in the firehouses. Most of our members, I hope, are working second jobs. You can't live on one salary anymore. So do we have, I think it's, the idea is great, but do we have the interest of the members who are willing to participate? If we did a survey, you'd have some idea. We're talking about 100 members, 10 members, or whether this is worthwhile.
I think that's a great idea, Commissioner, and I think the chief probably is going to do that. But I'd also like to point out, they do have weight equipment, and I've toured some of the stations and seen the weight equipment. They have access to over 70 different cardio machines. I mean, they really have some options at the gym that they don't have here.
I think that'll be a good discussion to have, but when we make the motion on it and have discussion and decide if it's going to be mandatory, if everybody's going to be involved, I think that there's some things that we have to determine, and if we do pay for it, how are we going to track if anybody's using it or we're paying for it and it's just sitting there not being used, things along those lines. But I think that,
Can I just have one other question before? Is this
Yeah.
just individual members or families?
Individual members.
The survey would just save us another month if you...
that's true.
If you go and wait until next month, I would recommend a survey before I vote. So if you do it now, it might save some time. I'm not
Yes.
against the item, I just am unsure if we commit $18,000 and nobody goes, or very few people go, is it worth it?
And I guess that's probably one of the questions that I would have is how would we track that? Because it's like everybody joins the gym after New Year's Eve, makes their New Year's resolution, and by the end of January, the gyms are empty again. So I think that if we were going to pay for that as an employee benefit or consider paying for it, there would have to be some skin in the game from where I sit on the other side of the fence, that we weren't paying for something that wasn't going to be used.
I think that's a fantastic idea as far as tracking. It's electronic. You have to
Right.
check in
I
when
do
you
know
get there.
that, yeah.
So they can do a printout. We can actually see who's utilizing it.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I will get it done.
We'll talk about that next month. I have no commissioner's business this evening. Under old business, Commissioner Orientation Workshop. I believe that Commissioner Fitzgerald put that on the agenda, so he can fill us in.
I request that we conduct the workshop. We have two new members on the board, myself and Commissioner Maturo. It's been a while since I've reviewed the policies and procedures or the legal requirements for a commissioner. Additionally, I want an opportunity to have a less formal environment so we can discuss items that we are prevented from discussing with the Sunshine Law. I want to talk about some personal experiences that I've had since I'm on the board. That would be, I hope, interesting, and members could gain from it, and I would gain some background experience. Basically, it's an indoctrination, and I would also hope that the chief would discuss the relationship between the board and the staff in a informal environment. So I make a motion that we conduct a workshop for approximately at least 1 hour as soon as possible. That's my motion.
Need a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
This is, it's got to be a formal meeting, because it's got to be just like the meetings we're having now. It's not a closed session. It's
Informal, yeah.
well, it's got to be formal.
It still has to be
Well, it's-
advertised as an
Yeah.
open public
Will it
meeting.
be, it's okay, could be formal, there's nothing wrong. It would be informal in the nature of the discussions, that's
My question is what difference would that meeting be versus what we do right now?
It's an indoctrination. It's not my responsibility to indoctrinate everybody here. It's, we're a new member. How was his indoctrination, or mine? I was off the board for a couple of years. My indoctrination of what's going on. I'll give you an example of one change. I come down here and find out now I can make a motion before the board, that I have to have a pre-motion to have a motion.
That wasn't a board change, that was a state law change.
Well, I didn't know about it anyway. We can do it now if you want. We can have the workshop right now, if that's what you want. I have some items that I think that,
We have a motion on the floor. All in favor of doing this? Commissioner Material?
Aye.
Commissioner
I have an
Fitzgerald?
aye on my motion.
Commissioner Casella?
I didn't hear the other votes, I'm sorry.
There are 2 ayes.
No.
No.
I vote no, too. Motion fails. The next item is Station 27 parking structure. We're back to this again.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I would propose that we ask the chief to go to the city and see if any of these structures are acceptable, because there's no sense in us voting on one of them if they will not accept it. I think that needs to be our first step.
I apologize, say that one more time, please.
Pardon me?
Say that, can you repeat that again, sir?
I would ask you to go to the city and see which one of these structures, if any of them, are acceptable.
Okay. I will tell you, if I can get a look at these, wanted to present just an order of how this took place. When we determined that we would like something to cover our vehicle, we had tossed around some ideas, myself, the staff, the fire marshal, we had talked around some ideas.
Could I interrupt you, Chief?
Yes, sir.
Do we have photos for the?
There are photos, we did make a
Okay,
couple.
I just want to make sure the public has access to them, that's all.
Yes, if not, we
I'm
can make
sorry.
some more. No problem, sir. So we went and we looked at a couple different ideas. The fire marshal, myself, and some other staff members were talking about covering the truck and what we would need to do that. So the idea we initially came up with was a cheeky hut, the one that you see in the first photograph. When we brought that, that was actually drawn by Sam Vincent, an architect that works with the city. He drew that up. However, when we discussed it with the city, they were not so inclined to move ahead with the cheeky hut idea, and they were instructed to come back to the table with something new. So essentially, the city tasked in a roundabout way to have the architect come up with a new idea. So the idea that they came up with was the next idea, the second idea, which is the matching rooftop as you see the structure. Myself and the assistant, the fire marshal, went in front of the city council under the impression we thought it was going to get approved. However, it was not approved. They did not like the design.
But they
So-
designed it.
Yes, well, Sam Vincent designed it, yes, sir.
Okay.
So, in essence, basically, what I informed the city council was it really wasn't that much of a issue of what we had covering it, but we needed something to cover it and, help us out with what would be acceptable. So therefore, they came up with the third idea, or the third rendering, of the drawing that you know. We call it the lighthouse look, I would suppose. And that's the third drawing. So as you can see, the price points escalate as we go through the pictures, the first, second, and third drawing. Now,
Do we have
In
a
order
price
to
on,
get-
do we have a price on the second one? I've never heard a price on that.
we did not go get a price simply because the city council said they did
So we
not
got
like it.
16,000 and 220,000 and
Yes,
somewhere in the
and
middle.
we are unsure if the city council, if we went back to the city council and asked for the Cheeky Hut design to be drawn, if they would in fact approve such a design.
Well, isn't it my impression, or that my knowledge, that I think it came from you, Chief, that they've approved 3 or 4 of them on the beach area, tiki huts?
I know there are Cheeky Huts that have been built on the beach as well,
So why wouldn't they approve all
in the
this?
beach area.
Do we know why they don't want to approve it? Is it because it doesn't meet code? Is it,
It does not, it's not, I don't think it's an issue of code, I think it's an issue of design.
Code doesn't, they don't get, they're not involved with codes.
And I'm speculating there, I would have to go in front of the city council and have them discuss it again.
well,
Tim has something.
Yes.
yeah, go ahead, Tim.
I'm sorry.
Initially, when we went before zoning, it was the Cheeky Hut. There was one person on the zoning didn't like the Cheeky Hut, but the rest of the members liked it. The next step, we went before city council as part of the zoning meeting, and it went the opposite way. They didn't like the canopy, but they liked the Cheeky Hut idea, so then we're stuck in the middle with it. But back to your question regarding the Cheeky Hut, as long as it's built by the local Native American, they named the
Right.
2 tribes here in Florida, there's no permitting whatsoever.
So,
And,
to me, using a little bit of common sense for $16,000 for something that we don't own, at some point, we have first right of refusal on that property, and even if we had to tear that down to do some remodeling at some point, we're only wasting $16,000, maybe over a 10 or 12-year span, maybe we'll end up with that, versus spending almost $250,000, give or take, that may or may not fit in with the design of what we would do at some point, or what the district would do at some point if we own the property.
Would you entertain a motion?
Absolutely.
I move that we go forward with the Cheeky Hut.
I second it.
Any further discussion on that?
Is that a vote? We just had a vote?
Yep.
I vote no. I
Well,
vote
no, we're at discussion, but let's take a vote on, at least give us a direction here on the Cheeky Hut.
I vote for it, and I would also add that, say that didn't work out for some reason, we couldn't do it with this, because the city wouldn't approve it, I don't know the process, but are you familiar with Bonita Bubbles?
Yes.
I say that, okay, where they do the drying off part, there's
That's
that.
exactly right.
Okay, we can do it in any color.
Yep.
Obviously, they're the code because everybody has them, they're aesthetically pleasing, so that's an option. And
Yep,
those
I
aren't very
totally agree
expensive.
with that. All right, so we've got an aye, we've got a no.
no for
And-
me.
And I,
Aye.
Aye. So we'll just give you a direction to go with the Cheeky Hut, assuming that the city will approve it. Obviously, if they don't approve it, we come back and do this again, but for approximately a $16,000 expense, it serves the purpose that we need. It'll, I don't know, the way I see it, Cheeky Huts fit in a beach environment, so hopefully they'll approve that.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, if they don't approve it, I guess we can still get it done by using one of the Native American,
I would use the Native American to begin
Well,
with.
we have to use the Native American anyway, which is
Yes.
not a problem, but I think they can, I'm not sure where it stands on the design. I know,
Stop us, Tim?
can they stop us from putting the Cheeky Hut? I think they can, from a design
Yeah,
standpoint.
the zoning is the issue, but anyway, if you could get past the zoning part, like I said, originally, the first zoning meeting we went to, one didn't like the Cheeky Hut, but the rest were in favor of it, but they all were in favor of getting the city architect come up with a new design, which was the canopy that was presented to them again. So when they got the canopy to look at, they didn't like that whatsoever, but then they're like, why don't we go back to the Cheeky Hut idea? You know, they were going back and forth on that.
Well, from a business standpoint, and for a tax-funded operation like this, having two options, one being $16,000 and one being $225,000, that's kind of a tough pill to swallow. It's a no-brainer from where I sit to do a Cheeky Hut, because all we want to do is not have the sun
But
hit the truck.
The Cheeky Hut is, if you have it done by the Native American, which is the Mississippi or the Seminole tribe, it's exempt from all building permits. However, it's not exempt from the zoning rules, it says.
Right, okay.
And,
I did want to make a comment on how we got here today, because the last order I received from the board, last board meeting, was to come up with a more concrete cost. However, in order to come up with a more concrete cost for the third one, what we would need to do is have a set of plans drawn up. Once we have the set of plans drawn up, go out for a bid to get a construction cost, go through the whole process before I can get a concrete
And there's a substantial
number.
cost to doing that before we even decide if we're going to do that.
That's where this came from, because in order for me to move forward with the last board direction, we were going to need to spend some money to make that, to ascertain the actual cost.
So we're moving forward with this, and we'll see where it goes, and then...
Chief?
Yes, sir.
Where'd you get the $250,000 from? The $225,000?
202,000 was the estimate that we received from the architect who drew the building, who gave an estimate on what it would cost.
Yeah. Didn't we ask you to get some better prices?
Yes, but the only way to do
Yeah,
that,
we'd have to do drawings.
I
and
have to do
engineering.
drawings, we have to have drawings by an architect, or by a, we have to have plans drawn up, and then after we have the plans drawn up, we have to put it out to bid for a construction company to build.
How does the architect come up with $250,000? What does he use? He pull it out of the sky?
I don't know.
I can answer that. He actually asked a contractor friend of his to look at his concept idea, and that was the price they came up with that it would approximately would cost.
Okay, we ready to move on? Budget transfer,
Where are we moving on to?
new business.
No, that's not what I asked.
Oh,
What is the next step now? So
we just,
we gave it,
we just
did we
passed
vote it down?
No, we voted to to move ahead with the Cheeky Hut, assuming that the city will let us do that.
Okay.
That's
I
where
just
we're
want
at.
it on the record, I oppose this tiki hut very strongly, and I think the residents of Hickory Island might. And if I had a way, I would ask them. And I'm also concerned if the zoning board, who are representatives of the city, they didn't want the tiki hut. I wonder why we're so strong. $250,000 is a lot of money, but we're talking about a facility representing the Bonita Springs Fire Department. We're talking about a 100-year lease, and we're talking about a grass-top building. I oppose this.
I got a feeling this is coming back, but we've already voted on this motion, and
You voted on the motion?
Yeah, we already passed it to move ahead with the Cheeky Hut, so this is, it'll probably come back to us, because if they don't want us to do it, if zoning doesn't let us do it, it'll come back, but as of right now, if they do let us go, that's definitely the direction we're going to go.
I was saying, and it was interrupted again.
It's been voted on.
I don't care if
Commissioner?
it's voted on or not. Are we so formal that we are limited on when I can talk
Okay,
or when
go
I
ahead.
can't? I
You
just
have
was
the floor.
saying that the zoning board represents the city of Bonita Springs, and they voted against it. I think we have, we're taking this $225,000.
I didn't hear that they voted against it.
There's a two-step process in the zoning meeting. The first meeting we went to was actually the zoning people themselves. One person really didn't like it, but the rest of them were sort of in favor of it, but they wanted us to get another idea from the city architect.
So it was never voted on.
Right.
Exactly.
So when we went to the second meeting to vote on it, well, when they saw the canopy idea from the city architect, they didn't like that at all. And some of them even suggested, why don't we do the Cheeky Hut, which they talked about Coconut Jacks and other places on the beach with the Cheeky Hut. And that's where we left it.
Okay, I strongly oppose this idea of a tiki hut, and I think the residents of Hickory Island might also. That's just for the record.
Thank you. Okay, new business, budget transfer number 1.
Yes, gentlemen, this transfer that you will see is for the rental lease for the new occupancy for the cruise out at Station 23 in the meantime when we begin construction, or actually demolition of the current station to rebuild the new one.
Need a motion to approve that budget transfer.
I'll make that motion that we approve it.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye. Did I catch a vote down? Yeah,
Aye, yeah.
thank you. Next is the disposal of assets report. This one is interesting.
That's the air packs, right?
And the building.
And the building. all together.
That's it. Anyway, Chief,
That's
Yeah.
it, you summed it up. That's the disposal of the building and the
Right.
airbags.
so we need a motion to accept that
I
disposal.
so move.
I'll second it. I have a question. What do we do with those old air packs? Are they demolished, given away, sold off?
I'll let the assistant chief handle it.
No, what it is, we've got a company called Dalmatian. We're in the process of negotiating a deal with them. We're going to send them off to them right now, and we'll be getting anywhere from, for the 49 air packs and approximately 90 masks that go along with the air packs, we're going to get approximately anywhere from $12,000 to $19,000, depending on how, when they inspect them, how bad they are, how good they are. So we are going to get some money for them.
So if you can get at least 16,000, we just paid for our cheeky hut.
We'll try.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
And let's see, the bids, labor cost of 3 AC units installed, air conditioning by commercial. We get some bids there. Maybe you can explain those.
Yeah, I'll turn it over to Deputy Chief Madden.
Yes, sir, they're talking about the ACs that are currently in our bay at Station 4. We've been having trouble trying to find big commercial contractors after the hurricane to install those ACs. So we finally were able to lock down 2 big commercial companies to get 2 bids. We were only able to get 2 bids. But the ones that are in front of you, the first one was for $16,000, and then the other one was for $14,000, so.
Do you have a recommendation on this?
Yes.
Yes, sir. The one for $14,000, it's a good company. Our maintenance facility manager, Mike Burkhardt, recommended that company to me personally and said that they're squared away, good to go.
Okay. We need a motion?
I'll make a motion, we approve.
Second, somebody?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye. And the Station 23 demolition with Judd and Associates. Need a motion to accept that bid.
Make that motion.
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
Just some information, a little bit more information than I have on that, Chief.
What would you like more, and I can get it for you, sir?
I'm sorry?
As far as the demolition?
Just, yeah, anything on, any other information? I got some information, that's
That's-
nothing more than that? Okay.
Not
I
that,
thought
to
it
my
was
knowledge.
cheap.
Yeah, I did too.
I thought it was extremely
Yeah, I
just
reasonable.
wanted-
Okay, all in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, now we come to the chief's report. Chief Daigle.
Yes, gentlemen, some of the issues we already covered. However, I did want to discuss and to ensure Commissioner Maturo that we are looking into the grant writer, and we will be trying to ascertain what the cost would be for us to, I guess you would say, acquisition the services of a grant writer to try to obtain some more funding for the district for different uses. Just wanted to inform the board that we are working on that, as well as Station 21. We do have $10,000 in the budget to set up the, for lack of a better term, the memorial park for the 9/11 Memorial Park over there on the north side of the building. We're working on that now. Deputy Chief Madden has been instructed to figure out a plan going ahead. So hopefully we'll at least have the initial idea, the initial drawing, and the initial process of creating that memorial park in play by this September 11th. We also have ordered an ISO inspection, and I did want to, I'll turn it over to Deputy Chief Madden here to explain a little bit about what's going on with our ISO inspection.
Yes, sir, we had it on February 20th. They came down, it was a full day.
Could you just explain for the audience ISO, just in case they don't know?
Yes, sir. ISO is it's a company that regulates your premiums in your homeowner's insurance. And the better your ISO rating, then the lower your premiums are going to be, depending on what company you go to. So our current ISO rating is a 3, and we're trying to get down to a 2. The company came and they said that getting to a 1 for a department or a district this size was almost impossible. They said we could do it. We would have to hire 40 more firefighters, put 2 or 3 more apparatus on the street, and maybe a couple more stations. So it's not very feasible. And I asked, well, why are certain departments in this state in ISO 1 and we can't obtain that? And he said, well, those departments they protect 2 gas stations, a church, and a Walmart. Compared to what we protect in Bonita, it's not even comparable. So to get down to that ISO rating of 1 is almost impossible. But we're looking really, really good for the 3 or better, to stay at the 3 or maybe even possibly go to the 2 with what we have now. And the inspection went really well, so.
Well, I would think that adding another station out east and another second ladder truck, besides all the other things that we do right, should help that ISO of 2
Absolutely,
strongly,
yes, sir.
I would think.
Yes, sir. We'll find out the final results in about 3 months. They're a little more detail-oriented now, so it takes a little longer to get that
Okay,
rating back.
thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Chief. An update on Station 23. I'm going to turn it over to the Assistant Chief, who's been handling most of that logistics of that process.
Good evening. Just a quick update. We are moved into the storefront unit. We moved in today. So it has all the luxuries of Station 3 with internet, so we can do reports. We've got a radio system there. We've got minimal cooking utensils there. We had to do some renovations to the bathroom, but they are moved in there. As of Wednesday, the power will be shut off to Station 3, the current Station 3 that we know it, and the demolition will be started. We're waiting on a DEP permit right now. It takes 7 to 10 days, and that was put in last week. So hoping, knocking on wood, that they will start the demolition process Wednesday to Friday. The demolition, Judd and Associates are going to come in and take some stuff out, and then they will come in and start the demolition process at that time. Hopefully from Wednesday to Friday, we'll be able to do some sort of company training there with our own fire companies, but the plan is moving forward to have the demo done within 2 weeks from when they start, and then we'll do some sort of groundbreaking and start the construction of Station 3, which, as we all know, we have a contract to do that in 180 days. So we're starting a little bit sooner than we did for Station 26. Hopefully the weather holds up, we don't get a Hurricane Irma, and we can be in there on time.
Thank you.
Chairman, may I ask a question?
Sure.
Does the storefront give them the ability to sleep there then?
Yes,
Okay, so
it's capable of, we have 4 bunks upstairs. There's 2 offices upstairs that are fairly good size. We have 2 bunk rooms in each one, or 2 bunks in each one. The only thing I would say that is different than the current station, other than the size, is the cooking ability. Right now, they're cooking on basically a hot plate, microwave, and a toaster oven. And they have one shower.
Haven't cut a deal with Lansdowne, it's right next to it.
Well, yeah, their biggest worry right now is Saturday, is St. Patrick's Day at
Oh, yeah.
Lansdowne, and parking of the fire truck. During the day, the fire truck, just so if you guys, if the public drives by there, during the day, they'll be parking in a paved parking area underneath the power lines. Then at night, they'll move to in front of the storefront so they can plug in at night for the MDC and the computers. But like I said, it has both radios, the VHF and the 800 megahertz radio, so any type of system failure with the radios, we do have the redundancy of the rollover there at that station also, so.
Perfect.
I think this is a great move that the commissioners have allowed us to do in that storefront, so I think they're going to be very happy, and I think with the response times, it's not, the citizens won't see a bump.
Good deal.
Thank you, Assistant
Thank
Chief. I did have some information regarding some questions that the public had brought up in the last meeting. One is concerning the firefighter's pension. The firefighter's pension is governed by Chapter 175 of the Florida State Statute. The district has an independent plan from the Florida retirement system. Not all forms of payment are counted as pensionable wages, such as extra overtime, anything overtime outside the exemption for FLSA. Holiday pay is not considered pensionable wages. A quick explanation is that when employees decide to retire, the plan takes the average of 5 years out of 10 years to determine the yearly pensionable amount, times percentage worked of years. So if someone was to be promoted, they must actually work for the promotion to be counted. Wages must be earned and paid before they are counted towards the pension. The pension plan does not count lump sum payments of unused sick time. or of vacation time, personal leave, or other accumulated leave. If taken actual time off is not as a lump sum, then yes, it would count. No other types of salary or compensation not paid by the actual district is included in the employee's pension. And also the employees contribute 7% of pensionable wages to the plan. Also, I did want to note that in our pension actuarial valuation as of October 2017 for the year ending September 30th, 2019. Now, these actuary studies are performed by a company called Foster & Foster. Foster & Foster is an actuarial company that has over 200 pension plans in Florida and does approximately 1,000 actuary studies of pensions throughout the United States, which puts them at the absolute top echelon of actuaries in the country. We have a list of a comparative analysis that shows how our pension system is in comparison with all the other pension systems, Chapter 175 systems in Florida. So the current actuarial study, which states, let me find out where it was. Just give me one moment. Under the current actuary study, which takes into account all the life expectancies, employment obligations, actuarial liabilities for the district, Foster & Foster estimates that the district's pension liability will be zero in 20 years. That's from Foster & Foster. That would be 2039, the schedule illustrating, this can be found on our website. Amortization of the total unfunded actuarial accrual liability as of 2039 will be zero. Okay, so I know that was one of the questions that had been brought up. And that is what I wanted to say, and this information is available online, and I did want to mention something else that Foster & Foster says, that it is important to note, these are quotes, it is important to note that as long as the actuary-determined contribution is made each year, the plan will never become insolvent. Furthermore, state and local laws mandate that the actuary-determined contribution be made each year by Florida state compliance. So I just wanted to make sure that was clear on how the pension works and who determines. I know it was mentioned that there should be some financial people on the pension board. Well, we hire the actuary to determine what the liability will be moving forward for the district and also what it is now.
I think a statement was made that maybe you can explain to the public about a lieutenant for a day or something, and they go into a different pension bracket. Maybe you touched on that, but...
I'm unsure of any system that does that. I know Lisa...
Yeah, I don't either, but it's like when something is said
yeah.
and it's not true, I think we need to make sure that
Yeah, I
people
think what he's
understand.
referring to, the sheriff's office did it, it was more ceremonial. I think he was confused on that, because when someone retired, if they retired at the rank of captain, they'd make them a major. They retired as a major, but it was purely ceremonial. They never worked as a major. It didn't go towards their retirement. Same thing like as a sergeant, they retired as lieutenant,
Yes.
and so on.
I'm not aware we've ever done that here,
No,
correct?
no. You have to earn your rank at this department.
Exactly, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Foster & Foster does the math on the actuarial soundness of our pensions, but they have no concern about what it costs. You say in 2037 there'll be a zero?
Yes, sir. Actuarially, in 2039, which is 21 years from now, our pension's very young. They started in 1995. So that's approximately, what would that make it, 42 years? I don't know, my math may be wrong. But in 2039 is when they estimate, should the board continue.
23 or 24 years old right now.
Yes. So in 21 years, they estimate, everything being as it is, with their actuarial study as far as life expectancy, payouts, it will be an actual unfunded liability of 0.
Will there be payments? Will our firemen pay pension at that time? Will there be?
Well, what, according, yes, sir. It will maintain itself through the
Without
investment plans.
contributions?
Yes, without district contributions. And also, however, I should not say without district contributions, Lisa's going to kick me here. We do have in the pension documents that the board is responsible to pay at a minimum of 15% into the pension, even if the liability is 0. The reason that is, from my understanding, is to offset any downturns that may disturb the pension.
Okay. What is the percentage we pay today?
We pay, I believe the last number was 52% of payroll.
52. That means a man making $100,000 a year, we put $52,000 into his
Yes.
pension. I think any citizen has a right to question that amount of money. That's huge, in all honesty. If he was in a 401k, he might put in 15%, he might put in 10% of his salary, $10,000, and we might match even 20. But we're putting in 52. So I think there is a justification to question this pension. Last month, I made a motion that this board at least write a letter to the state legislators stating what I believe, and I think what the public believes, that the pension cost is out of sight, to be honest with you, and too expensive, and that we might be better off thinking of another pension system. If I was getting this pension, I wouldn't say that, but I think that's what the questions are. This is a very expensive pension system. I don't think the public really is aware of what this costs. If they were, I don't think that they would approve it.
Okay, sir, I do have an explanation for that, if you wouldn't mind. That 54, this is a good opportunity to explain that 54%. That 54% was not always 54%. That
Right.
54% was, I believe, in the 20 percentile. Well, what happened was, when we had the economic downturn happened, we had 133 employees here. Okay, so when we got into, which we were only paying at that time, whatever it was, 20 whatever percent. So in order to do a buyout, to buy down the system, it was either buy the senior employees out, 17 employees, or lay off approximately 25 employees, which would result in the shutting down of stations. So the board elected to go ahead with the buyout. In turn, to do the buyout, what had to happen was we had to negotiate that the members of the union give up 2% raise. Also, we were at 5%, where they put in 5% of their pay. They elevated their pay to 7% of their salaries. Okay, so, and also reduced the staff by 30%. So all in all, when the staff was reduced, the payroll was reduced by 30%. So when the pension went up to 54%, this was all presented to the board in calculations. If we did the buyout, which would mean that we'd have to pay the pension for the early retirees, which would bring our percentage up to 54%. However, the net gain for the cost of the employee for the district would be saved $1.6 million per year. So the net gain for the district at that time was $1.6 million per year every year since then. So we're well over $16 million of savings in doing the buyout at this point. Now, what that looks like in the pension is that we're paying 54%, but we paid 54% to reduce the personnel costs of the district. So in all intents and purposes, that 54% is a misnomer for the actual payment of the reduction of staff during the economic downturn.
And we're about ready to go down the other side now, where
Correct.
that liability starts going down drastically, because the 10 years has
Correct.
gone by, and and we're going to start on the downhill side where that percentage will consistently come down until, like you said, 20,
Yes.
22 years, 21 years, it'll be at zero.
Yes, and in addition to that, we're talking about doing a orientation. In addition to that, the state money, the Chapter 175 money, which is $500,000 or so a year now, which the members used to use to pay for added benefits, like increased multipliers, time served, those types of things. The pension board agreed, and the members agreed not to use that money anymore to buy new,
It couldn't enhance the pension.
couldn't enhance the
anymore.
pension. In turn, what that did was solidify the pension, because now that $500,000 a year that is the members' money, was the members' money, goes to the district to offset the costs. That was another
And that
part of
was
the
that was
negotiation.
an insurance company rebate.
The insurance
the
rebate, which
premium
can only
rebate.
normally, and was in the past, only used for enhancements.
Right.
So therefore, the district, the pension members, never have any opportunity or money to be able to enhance the pension, because it goes to the district to offset the costs. So there was a lot of moving parts in this. One was the savings of the $1.6 million a year, the reduced pension, the pension reform that we did. They're no longer 3.58, they're at 3, which now, through attrition, almost 50% of all of our employees are under the new tiered contract. The 3.58 in the next, I don't know how many years, I have to ask the actuary, but not so many years, everybody will be under the new tiered contract. So
Which is 3.
as far as the district is concerned, financially, that was the move to make during the economic downturn, and saved a tremendous amount of money to the district over the last long haul. In fact, we don't even have as many employees working here today as we did in 2008.
And
in
and
10
the
years.
the 3 multiplier is mandated by the state. We can't go lower
Yeah.
than the 3 multiplier. So we need to get that out to the public too. That's the minimum requirement.
So it is true, it is important to look at that 54% from a district standpoint as a whole, because it was a piece of several parts in negotiating a more efficient fire department with less employees, in which we dropped 30%, like I said. And we're still, 17 employees less than we were in 2008, with 2 more stations.
And 2,500 more calls a year, maybe
And
more.
at least 2,500 calls, well, I would say approximately
Much larger
2,500.
populations.
And it was 2 buyouts, in fact, that we did that.
Right.
So therefore, that is one of the reasons, as these buyouts fall off of our, we'll call it the mortgage payment, the payment, that's the reason why we come to a 0% unfunded liability in 20 years.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
You have anything else?
If you think I
you-
understand all of that, you're wrong.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that,
But
sir?
I said, if you think I understood everything you said, you're wrong.
I believe you were part of that, when we put that deal together, you were here as part of the commissioner that helped with that. Chairman.
Yes.
You were chairman at that time.
Yes, and it's one of the things I would have brought up at this workshop that I requested, is this board very often votes on things that they don't understand. And I'm only one of the 5. So when we vote on something, it's not, it's a majority. I could tell you things that we voted on here that I'm ashamed of. And I don't believe we had that explanation at that time. Let me ask you, you say we're not in the FRS, we're not in the Florida?
No, sir.
what-
The board, I take that back, the commissioners
The board,
are in
yeah.
FRS. Yes, you're
Right.
high risk
Right.
in the FRS.
Where do our funds go? Where do the contributions that the members make and that the board makes, where do they go?
They go, well, we contribute to the FRS system for the commissioners.
Mm.
And that system, we pay 53%
Yeah.
43% of the FRS contributions for the board. However, no one else in the district is FRS.
Yeah, where do those funds go? Where do the funds that we pay into the
Pension
pension?
go? They
Where do
go
they-
to a pension fund.
They go in, Say
The
that again?
custodian, the pension fund, they go to,
They go into the FRS?
Yes.
yes,
Yeah.
they go into the
Well, how do
pension.
you say then we're not in it? If the money,
Commissioners, the firefighters.
no, I'm talking about the fire.
The firefighters are not, FRS is the Florida Retirement System.
Yeah.
That's something completely different than what our firefighters are in. We're in a private pension system governed by Chapter
Who handles
175.
our funds, those funds? Where do they
The
go?
pension board, just like the
They-
board
in
here
pri-
has
In private
oversight,
corporations, they're not in the,
state, no.
They're
They
not
are
in the-
governed by the state. They are not part of the state retirement system. Not part of FRS. They're part of Chapter 175, which is a different system.
well, I'm a taxpayer in this town. All I know is that I pay 57% of the fireman's salary for pensions. I think that's outrageous, to be very honest with you. Well, that's my comment, anyway.
Duly noted. You have anything else, Chief?
Okay. I didn't know if you wanted to, I mean, I discussed with you, Chairman, about talking about the impact fees, if the board would like me to
Yeah,
explain that a
absolutely.
little further.
Absolutely touch
Okay.
on the impact fees.
Okay, so what happened with the impact fees is the last time we had impact fee study done was 2012. Recently, this year, they did an impact fee study, the county did an impact fee study. When they do an impact fee study, they take a look at all of our stations, cost of our stations, or anything that we can use impact fee funds for. How do they get that? They get it from what we have paid for our engines, what we paid for our ladders, what we paid for our stations. And we send them all up to the county. They take that information and they put it in a database. They have this company come and they look at the database for our district and every district in the entire county. Now, whatever that number is that they come back with what monies could be, impact fees could be used for, they take that number and they determine what percentage of that number, the impact fee, they are going to pay. Now, that is done from what the cost of commercial, the cost of, and I read the list last duty day, residential, commercial, population, the whole story, the roads, schools, and they spit out a number saying this is what the impact fee is for Bonita Springs Fire Control and Rescue District. Now, the county then can determine how much of that impact fee they are going to approve. They approved 100% of the, so far, it's going to be, most likely going to be approved. Last time they approved, and under the current study, I've been informed that they are going to approve 100% of our impact fees. The board or myself cannot modify the cost of the station, the cost of the trucks. The costs are the costs. They're in our audits. They're what we send up to the county. So if we went up and we said, we want more impact fees for the fire department, and I've asked them this, they'll say, you're already getting 100%. So you can't get more than 100% of the impact fee studies. The only thing you would be able to do would pay more for stations or have the study evaluate the commercial structure and rate it as a higher fee, which we don't do. That's a company that is researching what commercial structure should pay or residential or whatever is going to cause the impact fees.
And the new numbers are, the new
The new numbers,
studies
I
are
read them off last
significantly-
board.
Yeah, they're significantly higher than they were.
Yes. And from the intelligence that I have, it's going to be, the fire departments and emergency services are going to get 100% of the impact fees that the study recommends. And that's
And
not, that's not the
that same
case.
information directly
Yeah.
from,
And that's not the case for other impact fee studies. Some of them may be getting a lesser percentage, 40, 50, 60, whatever the county commission decides the percentage of impact fees they want to assign to each individual area or criteria.
yeah, you can ask your question in public comment. We don't take comments from the audience, sorry. Are you all
Chief-
set? Are you
Chief,
finished?
excuse
Yes, sir,
me.
unless the board has any
Excuse me.
questions.
You say that we send up the estimate of the operational cost of the buying trucks on it.
Yes.
Do we do that on a yearly basis, or do we do that 1 year and that sets the impact fees for whatever?
When they do the study, we send the most current information we have, which is every
Okay.
3 years.
So when did they do the last study?
It was 2012. They did not do a study in 2015 that I was aware of.
So that year of the study, if we're not building and we're not, our numbers would be low, even though we'd be getting 100% of a low number. Like if you took the expenses or the operational cost of this department for hard construction trucks and buildings this year, it might be a heck of a lot more.
Correct.
So
They use the current year that they're,
the
from my
year-
understanding.
The year of the study.
Yes,
The
sir.
current year of the study. Do we have any idea what that number was?
Yes, I read I don't have the information with us, but I read the whole list last board meeting of each commercial structures, of what the
No,
cost
I
is.
mean, if we were doing an analysis year by year of the cost that the study is looking on, the study uses some mathematical number to judge impact fees. If the study is using some year, was that a year? I mean, these numbers change. I assume that's why they do a study. Do we have any idea if that was a justifiable number at that time? Was it a high number, a low number? We have no idea.
I don't have the documentation in front of me. I had it last meeting. However, I know some of the properties, like, for example, don't quote me on this because I don't have it in front of me, but like commercial structures, the impact fees went up 62%. Something
Across the
similar
board,
to
it was
that.
about 45%.
There was 40, 60, depending on the structure type.
And they were all just reduced. What year did they reduce them?
No.
There was an impact fee study done in 2012, but we received 100% then as well.
The only thing that's been reduced is for other government entities
Yes.
that, but fire and emergency services are getting 100% of the anticipated impact fees. It's other departments
Yeah,
like the
okay.
school board
Yeah.
and many other municipalities that are not getting, they're getting 45 or somewhere percent. And
Yeah,
that's.
that's been the discussion. From the
Yeah.
meeting I was at, they haven't come to
They
agreement
haven't
about
voted on
that.
it yet, but they're close. But we're getting 100% and 100%, and the numbers are what they are. We can't change them, like you said, and 100% is best we can do.
100%.
You have anything else, Chief?
No, sir, I do believe that is it.
Thank you very much for a very well put-together report.
Yes, sir.
Assistant Chief DeWitt, do you have anything further?
No, not unless you guys have anything more for me on Station 23.
Just get her done.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for your report, Deputy Chief Madden. It's always very well put together. And honorable mention to Deputy Chief Scott, who is in
I
here.
did have something in place for Deputy Chief Scott, just to inform the board that on Thursday, the 15th, I will be going up in his place to present our grant to the Wheatson Board at 8:30 in the morning.
You're going where? Sorry?
To the downtown to present our grant for the new boat.
Oh, okay.
It's the first, I guess you'd call it the preliminary go-arounds to see if we'll get the grant or not.
Okay.
So we'll go there and I'll discuss our boat, our needs for it, and at that point, they'll sit and decide by October and let us know.
Okay, so, thank you. Public comment, I have a card for Alex Grant.
Yes, Alex Grant, 11851 East Terry Street. Okay, it's interesting that what you mentioned. I have all the audits from 2000 till now. And what I did, I looked, first of all, I wanted to find out what happened when we went to how we got to 3.5 3.58%, the multiplier, okay? And what I discovered that in 2001 and 2002, the multiplier was 3.06%, but then it started rising in 2003 to 3.18%, and it was 3.18% for 2 years then after, for 2 years, and in 2005 it went up to 3.25%, and in 2006 it went up to 3.33%, and when the first fire chief we had permanent retired, it went up to 3.39%. Okay, and that was in 2007. And then in 2008, it went up to 3.58%, and it was like that until as you said, the 2010, when the state lowered it, or somebody lowered it to 3.0%. So, and what I noticed, that the contribution, because of this, the contribution had gone up from 15%, that in other words, the board was contributing to the pension fund, to in 2002 to 25%, and then 26% in 2004. This is all from, in the audits. In the audits, you can see that. And all you have to do is look at the audits of Markham, Norton, and Stromer, and then it was Stromer and Stromer for a number of years, and finally, when it went up to 3.39%, it was Ashley Brown, who was the CPA that we have now that does the audits. So I just wanted to clarify how we got into the situation where it came up, that multiplier came up to 3.58%, because I think that's where the problem became with the pension system. That's my own opinion. I'm not obviously an CPA or anything like that, but that's what I see. And I think whoever was on the board at that time, whoever was the chairman and the vice chairman, whoever on the board, they were the ones that had the authority to do all this, and included the fire chief in there, and that was in the audits. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Ron Pure?
Hello, everybody. Ron Pure, Taxpayer Action Group. Just let me say, as John Q. Public, I am really surprised, taken back by the fact that one of your colleagues asked to have an open discussion tonight, and 3 of you voted against it. It's beyond me. I wanted to talk about the pensions just briefly. You've got a 3% multiplier now. If not, please let me know. And I think that's still a big problem, because at the end of 30 years, that's 90% payout on a pension, which is extraordinarily high compared to other districts that we've looked at over the years. Chief, I don't know what you're talking about with this impact fee stuff. I mean, I heard all the words, but I didn't hear something that became clearer than usual at a commission meeting this week when impact fees were discussed, or last week, last Tuesday, or earlier this week, whatever, March 6th. And clearly, one of the commissioners said that you guys have the ability to do with what you want as long as you can justify it in paper, in writing, and in math, with impact fees. One of them said that you guys had been paying 100% of the impact fees. Now, I think you're aware that in '06, you had an impact fee in a single-family home, that's usually the barometer, the thing that is most talked about, of $660, and in 2012, that was reduced to $437. Now, because I don't know, that's why I asked the question and blurted it out earlier, what the new so-called impact fee that you folks will be charging for a single-family home. You have no recollection of what that is? Well, I think that this is almost a scandal with what the commission expressed publicly and what you folks have expressed to us many, many times over the years with respect to this impact fee and the setting of rates. You folks had a building spree since the comeback of the economy of sorts, and at the same time, you were not in a position to get what should have been gettable, and that was a large impact fee on the building of those buildings that you endeavored to do, or you did do, and the equipment that you've purchased since 2012. You actually reduced them when the economy was swinging back. We're not up to the level maybe of '06 or '07 at this point, but certainly we're a long way from where we had been in '07 and '08. It's a terrible situation because you guys missed out on billing with impact fees, hundreds of thousands. I didn't do the multiplication, but a lot of money, maybe verging on $1 million or more. Not good, but I'd like to sit down with the chief if it's possible next week to, let's do it soon if we could, to go over the new schedule and find out what your take is on what your flexibility is with respect to impact fees. Thanks.
Thank you. Any further public comment?
Motion to adjourn.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Speak?
Oh, we need to rescind that last motion. I'm sorry, I missed another public comment. I didn't have a card.
I'd like to say my name is Linda Byers, and I'm just a recent resident of Bonita Springs. And I'm a contractor and builder of upscale homes. And I was looking at the drawing, and there is no way in my mind that I can see where that would come to $200 and some thousand. I appreciate all of you, and I'm glad that somebody at least recognized that, because that is really, really out of line for that drawing. And number two, where I come from, and I know you hate to hear that, but where I came from, I have a corporation and I build big homes. Our impact fees there are very, very high, and I was glad to pay them. We take care of our firemen, our policemen, our schools, our library, our roads, our bridges. It makes our property values all go up, and it's nothing for me to have a $7,000 to $9,000 impact fee when I'm building a home. So I hope you never diminish that or take anything away from your departments, because I just think I moved here because it's such a great city and it's run so well, and I appreciate all that all of you do for them. And it's just my 2 cents.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll make that motion.
Meeting adjourned.